Thank you very much for joining Test Automation Forum. And today is going to be our first showcase session. And as I announced before, in each session, we are going to showcase a tool from industry or a platform, a testing platform, automation platform, be it functional testing or performance testing or security testing tool, maybe AI and ML centric testing tool. So today we are going to review a tool with a team from Case.io. As you know, achieving 100% automation is not that easy. 100% automation is not that easy because of so many factors. The application might not be that simple, or the GUI that application is having might not be that straightforward that supports 100% automation. Your tool might not be, your automation tool that you have, your organization has already considered or procured might not be supporting all the features that you have integrated as part of your application. And also sometimes achieving 100% automation becomes very, very expensive. You do not get the return that you must get from your investment, spending heavily on automation to that level. So in that scenario, you have to select something which supports both manual as well as automation in a more structured and centralized manner so that you can have the test management effectively for both your test cases that you have identified as manual and you have already built automation scripts for those test scenarios. So from that angle, if we look at a tool, the tool becomes more cost effective and more friendly, QA friendly, if the tool is really helping us in accelerating both manual and automation test cases, helping us to drive the traceability and so on. Without taking any more time, let's go and start our discussion with Case team. Case team is with me right in this session today. Let's go to the team from Case. Nikita and Ilya, firstly, thank you so much for taking time and joining this first showcase series session on Test Automation Forum. I welcome you both to our forum. And I'm really proud to be here today talking to you and going to talk about your platform, Case.io. So thank you for joining today.
Thank you very much for inviting us.
Thank you very much. It is a pleasure to meet you.
Same here. Thank you so much. So Nikita, would you like to tell us how this motivation actually came to your mind about Case.io? Would you like to give some thought around when the journey started and how this kind of tool came to existence?
Yes, of course. Thank you. So let me introduce myself. Yes, my name is Nikita. I'm Case.io CEO and founder, and I'm the guy who wrote the first line of code of this application. So the journey has started 5 years ago. I was working as a head of development, and one of my tasks was to set up software testing process. We had no one in QA, and I've decided to hire a few people, and as a first step to describe what we have, describe our product. The first thought was to use an Excel, but I understood that it is not a scalable story. So I started looking for test management solutions, and I was surprised because all of them were looking from 90s. Each tool had a pretty bad UI, and I understood that I know what I need. I know how to build it. I have necessary skills, and I have a small graveyard of bad projects that were never finished. So I decided to release this bad project to production and see how it is going.
Yeah.
So yes, I started working, and the first idea was to build a classic test management solution for manual tests because I was trying to solve my own problem. But later I understood that there is no a good solution to track automated tests. Yes, we have some, but it is difficult for engineering manager to understand what is going on with your software testing process. You have results of the manual test in one place, you have results of automated test in another place. You need to collect all this data, you need to upload it to a data warehouse and build some reports to understand what is going on. How does our work impact our process? So that's I've decided to make a small pivot and focus on both manual and automated testing, because software testing process is never 100% manual or 100% automated. If you have all the tests automated, you will spend a lot of time on the maintenance. So you need rebuild them, refactor them, and etc. If you have all the tests manual, you need to do a lot of work by people. You need to pay them salaries and etc. And it is not so effective. So I've decided to build a solution that combines the results of manual automated tests in one place and provide analytics based on this data. So that's our case.
Very nice, interesting, very nice. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on the fact that it is very difficult to do 100% automation. So it doesn't also make sense sometimes, right? You'll have to invest more in order to get that level of automation, which doesn't really make sense from costing standpoint. No, thank you so much for sharing, an overview on your journey. So Ilya, let me go to you. You would like to introduce quickly yourself?
Absolutely, yeah, thank you. So my name is Ilya. I do customer success over here at Case. I've joined the company just about a year ago. So last fall it was. And basically what I do in the company is I talk to our clients, talk to our current customers, collect their feedback, feature requests, also talk a lot to the product team to discuss together how we can evolve the product further, how we can make it even better, how we can fit the expectations of our current clients. And yeah, that's pretty much the scope of it.
Very nice, very nice. All right, I was browsing through your portal, case.io, and for our followers, let me reiterate, it is actually QASE.io, and we pronounce it Case, right? I'm pronouncing it correctly?
Yes, yeah. Right.
All right, Case.io. So I kind of visited your site and I was browsing through. I could see you have some nice customer base who are already using your platform. So I would like to hear from you. Maybe Nikita can share some thoughts here. How your customers are really responding to the challenges that we are facing from COVID-19 pandemic side. What are the things that are changing in the market today? Is the kind of approach to automation the same, or that has changed in last 1.5 years after the pandemic hit? Can you share some thoughts, Nikita?
Yes, as I can see, the COVID hasn't changed the industry. Let me explain why. Software testing process initially was online. So before COVID, you've used test management tools. After COVID, you use test management tools, and that doesn't matter where from what place you use them. But what can I see from the market, that COVID has affected a hiring process. Because when you, before COVID times, you hired people from your location, for example, from your city, and etc., and made them work from office. But now you can hire people from all over the world. You can hire people from another city, another region, another country, and etc. And for many countries, people can see significant boost in their salaries, because big companies, they are not closed in their cities. They can hire and offer good salaries for people outside. And from what I see that teams are now more international. So people from different countries working together as a one team. So that's what I see.
A big change, okay.
Yes. So we have shifted from local teams to international teams.
To global, okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much for sharing your insights. So with that, I think we can go and have a quick demo on the platform. So Ilya, you are going to take us through the platform today?
Absolutely, it's going to be me. And I'll try to be as brief as possible to just give you an idea about what Case is, what it allows you to do. We, of course, basically the main idea here is to involve as many people from the organization into the testing process as possible. So we try to make the solution as intuitive and adaptable, right? So it doesn't take too much time for anybody to grasp it, to start using it. And I'm not only talking about the quality engineers, right? But I'm also talking about the developers, product managers, analysts, anybody else whose involvement into the testing process will allow you to benefit as a team, will allow you to benefit as an organization in a wider sense. And speaking of our solution as a whole, there are, of course, main aspects, main elements to it. And whenever we're talking about testing, it's basically boiling down to organization of your test cases, how you organize them, how you operate with them. Then the performance of those test cases. Of course, after that, you would like to get some insights and understanding of what is going on, and the automation. So all of those elements are what we are looking to piece together to have this cohesive tool where basically it's a single place of truth for all of your quality assurance team efforts. Starting off with the structure, we structure the test cases in the projects. Those projects are pretty much a way for you to organize the data according to different teams or different projects you do for real life clients. Within those projects themselves, there is again a way to structure the data with the help of the suites, where again, you can build them in a very flexible way depending on your needs. You can make the structure very complicated. You can make it very easy. You can build layers and layers and layers of the data, up to you, depending on your needs and how deep you want to categorize those items you work with. Of course, we realize also that a lot of our clients actually migrate from other different solutions they have been using before, and for one or another reason, they decided to take a jump and look for an alternative. So with that, we support a few of the different formats to take as an origin from other solutions so that you can simply import them into our tool and start working right away without having to recreate everything from scratch. Speaking of those test cases, of course, the data that goes into test cases, pretty much what you would expect from any test management system, right? There is an ability to set all the different properties of those test cases. But on top of that, you can definitely set up the custom fields so that any additional data that you want to capture that we did not cover with the system fields is also available to you. All of those attachments, the parameters you can put into the cases, all of that is here. So those cases pretty much allow you to do anything. And again, those cases can be created both for manual and automated applications where you describe everything that should be happening, everything that the case is about, and what are the steps that you should proceed through. Speaking of those steps, actually, there are we take quite an interesting approach with the steps to reproduce of the cases, where we have regular and shared steps. Regular steps are just usual run-of-the-mill action input data expected result, just applied to a single test case. However, the shared steps are a bit of a different story here because they can actually be applied to multiple test cases. That way, if you have some kind of or part of the procedure that is consistently happening in a lot of different cases, you don't have to retype it every single time from scratch. So that's speaking of the cases. Another important piece of the solution, of course, is how you perform those test cases in the test runs. And the test runs are, if we look at one of mine that I already have, allow you to have a clear picture of what is going on. What is the scope of this test run? What kind of cases it includes? Who is responsible for those cases? And also what results you have reported for them. And simply from a glance, you can take a look and see, where you are standing at the moment with this current test run, how much you have completed, what were the results reported. And any additional data like the time you spent on it can also be visible here. We also allow to track quite a bit of some additional information about those test runs, like the configurations. You can also specify the environments where test runs should be performed. And of course, you can also capture the defects. When you run into some kind of a problem or an issue during testing, you can on the go create a defect so that you don't lose it and stop working on it, tracking the status right in here as well. So as you can imagine, we're just taking it from the very first step in the testing to the very last step where you have a defect, work on it, and eventually resolve it so that you don't see it in the next test run. So I'm not going to go into too much detail, of course, because we're going to be limited on time. So I'll get to the automation part and how that actually works.
So can I ask one quick question?
Absolutely. Sure.
So how do I know which manual test case I have executed?
So looking at those cases in my run here, I have a few of them with this A flag, which means that it's automated. I actually put that flag in manually. So I just marked some of my cases as automated, some are not. And those that are not, obviously do not have that flag. If I don't have any result for such a case, this
Is not
cell here is empty. Yeah. For any of the cases I have already passed and submitted some result, I can go back into it and see what's been going on and what was the result that I have recorded here. But looking at this one, it actually has not been performed yet. I actually can go into it and submit a result. For this one, I will do it manually, let's say.
That's
And
cool.
now I have a new result. Yep.
Yep. Good.
Sure. So yeah, and as you noted, actually, the test run can be a mixture of both approaches, right? It doesn't have to be exclusively automated. It doesn't have to be exclusively manual. It can include both types of cases here. And just again, just from a glance, you can tell which part of the test run you should be performing manually, which ones are going to be submitted via API. And that's where we get into the automation part and how we manage it with the system. The way we do it is we actually built a few different reporters for different frameworks and different languages, most commonly used in the testing process. Those act as essentially API reporters. They collect the data you perform in code and then push those results back into a test run. The way it works actually is you don't even necessarily have to have corresponding test cases in our system at all. You might already have the test cases written in code, but if you don't want to be recreating in the software, you would just go into the settings of your project, and there is a specific option that allows you to create the test cases automatically based on the incoming API results. It's called auto create test cases. And if you have it switched on, whenever you set a result via API, then basically a new test case will be created. And if something changes about the code, something changes about the test case itself, the next time you send the results via API, the existing test case will be updated to reflect those changes that it has been going through. Speaking of those reporters, again, we have quite a few. For example, for JS, we have support for Cypress reporter, Jest, Newman, etc. For Java, there are also quite a few different reporters available for Cucumber Test and J&J Unit. So I'm pretty sure we cover a lot of the bases here. And there is also, of course, a reporter for Python. But we're also very welcome and very open to suggestions and requests from the wider audience, from the wider community of the testers, which one we should be looking into in the future. Because as you know, the trends change, the tools become more popular, less popular over time. So we're also keeping the hand on the pulse and checking, what is going on in here and what are the popular solutions on the market.
Yep, looks like a lot of language support in order to have integrations with different tools in the ecosystem.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. Correct.
Okay. Very nice.
Yeah. So that's speaking of the automation. Again, I didn't really go into too much detail, but I'm pretty sure that you will be able to share our contact information with your audience, so that they have questions, they will be able to reach out to us. Now, the last piece here coming into play is the reporting part and how that is managed. Because obviously you would like to understand what is going on in the projects on a larger scale. For that, we have currently two different types of reports available. There are insights and metrics. Insights are a look at the project at a current moment. It shows you distributions of different entities by different properties of theirs. Like for the test cases, you can see how they are distributed by type, or let's say automation. Those flags I've been mentioning before. Again, right here in this graph, you can take a look and see how many you have automated, how many are still remaining to be automated, for example, and how many of those cases you have are not automated or will not be. Same goes for all the other entities, where for defects, you can take a look and see their distribution by severity or by status. And for the test runs, it will be a distribution by status, as well as any custom fields you create that were made filterable, they will also feature in here. As for the metrics, it's a bit of a different story. It shows you the historical changes of the project, what changes it's been going through. And here we can look at test cases count, so how your testing model has been growing over time, as well as test cases events. So it gives you an idea about what's been going on with those cases, whether you've been creating more, updating or deleting more. And also you can change the scope here to
And this is really nice. This is nice feature.
It is.
Yes.
And actually, just as a bit of a disclaimer, very soon we're releasing a different version of reporting. It's going to be called dashboards. And while at the moment you can focus just on the single project here, right? In the new dashboard system, it will be possible to set up various widgets based on multiple projects as well. And we have created something around 40 different types of widgets that will be available. And you can have your own dashboards with various sets of widgets that are necessary for your needs. It will be even more powerful than the reports we have currently. But yeah, that's the reporting tool as it
And how do I collaborate using these reports? Can I download these reports, or I have to share the links with the team?
Actually, those reports will be available to anybody who is a part of your team. And actually, speaking of the team, it's a good segue. It's a good segue into how you can collaborate with the team, because in here you can actually invite not only your quality assurance team, right, but actually the wider organization members as well. For that, we actually have two different types of licenses, where we have regular users and read-only users. They're different in capabilities. Read-only users, as the name suggests, are very limited, but they still can leave their comments around different areas of the project, like in test cases, in reviews, or on the defects. But they're free of charge and a limited number. So what we usually see happening is the teams invite their core quality assurance team as a regular user type of license, and anybody else who wants to participate can be invited as read-only. That way, you only pay for what makes sense to pay for, without bloating your bill too much. But at the same time, everybody's input is also possible, and everybody else can be involved into testing. Even for regular users, though, if you're concerned with security, you can still set different policies, permissions, and restrictions, which is realized through the use of roles. Those custom roles allow you to set on a very granular level what users can and cannot do with different entities in the system. And that way you don't have to worry. You can rest assured that whenever somebody gets into the account, they will not accidentally delete something or set a bunch of custom fields up that you don't need. So that's that.
Okay, that's nice. And another question is, let's say I have some Selenium scripts already developed, existing for my project. Around, let's say, 15% of my test cases are automated using some Selenium or some other tool. So can I kind of, bring those test scripts and integrate to the test scripts that I have built on top of your platform?
Actually, the way you would do that is, yeah, there are two approaches here. The first approach is you don't even have to create those cases in our system first with the auto creation test cases option. So then the first time you send those results via API, you will have test cases created automatically. Another approach is you can use permalinks, and that way tie those cases you have in code to existing test cases in our system. So both approaches are possible depending on your needs. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. And how about configuring it in our CI/CD pipeline? Let's say I have to either schedule a job from Jenkins, or I have to, on demand, I have to invoke from Jenkins. How do I do that?
So again, there are a couple of approaches you can take, but first of all, a bit of a disclaimer: we have the Jenkins native integration currently being worked on, so it's not yet available, but we're going to have a native integration very soon where it will be possible to launch builds directly from case without having to leave it. As for now, the possible approaches are, again, through the performance of the test runs of whichever environment you perform your auto tests. So that will be launching the build. Another approach that I have actually seen quite a lot of users employ is through the webhooks, where you can set up a webhook based on a trigger event, which will be test run completion. That way, whenever your test run completes, you can send a signal to an endpoint that will be your CI/CD endpoint that will be triggering a build. So you can do it like that.
All right. And would you like to show us, how we can, write our script, a simple test case? If you can just take us through, let's say, the login page, right? So can you show us where to start, writing our test script, and how much?
So let's say you want to start with a new feature. It's going to be a login page. So we're going to create a specific suite for it. Let's say a login page it's going to be, and it's going to be on the top level. I'm going to introduce some brief description into it. And then I'm simply navigating to this suite, and I'm going to create a new case in it. I'm going to do it first like this. So I'm going to simply insert the title first. And then when I'm ready to fill out all the details, I will go into the editing phase where I'm actually going to be inserting all the other parameters and properties of this test case. So let's say it's not automated at the moment, but I want it to be automated in the future. I put the respective flag in. I also know that it's going to be a critical feature and that is high on my priority list. So I put all of those parameters in. And the type for it is going to be, let's say, functional. Layer is, well, I'm going to create it as an end-to-end. I can also tie it to a specific milestone if it relates to, let's say, a release version of some sort. And I can also set a behavior that I'm going to be testing as a part of the case. After that, there are conditions. I can also insert if there is something that needs to be done before I proceed with this test case or after. I can do all that. Next up, we're moving into custom fields. So in this section, I'm actually seeing the custom fields I have already pre-configured for my project. So I simply will need to fill out any custom fields that are mandatory. Any optional ones, I can leave them blank if I don't want to have them filled out, but let's just grab all of those values and insert them like this. I could also drop some attachments if I have extra documents, extra context, some mockups from my design team, anything of that sort can go in here. Additionally, I can add the parameters if I want to perform this test case with different variable incoming parameters. Let's say I want to perform the same scenario multiple times logged in as different users or trying to log in as different users. So possibly for me, the outcomes are going to be different in there. But in fact, I don't want to create multiple copies of the test case that will take my that will make my repository a bit untidy. I would rather have the single test case and I want to perform it multiple times then. So I just create a parameter group titled user roles and I list the user roles I'm going to be testing this case as. So it will be an admin and a regular user, for example. That way, when I add my case to a test run, I'm going to have 2 copies of it. And for each of those copies, I will be able to also submit independent results. And then finally here, we're getting to the steps to reproduce, which I mentioned we have 2 types of. So I can add a regular step, which will be just applicable to this particular test case. So it can be go to https login.com. And then I can also add a shared step from the list of the shared steps I have already created. It just shows me up in the modal window which shared steps I have in the project. I can choose one of them and it gets added. After that, it will be possible for me to either save a case or send it to review. In fact, in my example, I don't even have the save button enabled just because the review process has been made mandatory in my project, but I can always opt for different ways to go here where I can switch it off, this mandatory review, and that it will be possible for me to just save a case. And there is also an option to turn off the self-merge option. So it will have to be someone different to merge those changes into the repository. But I'm just going to send it to review like this. At this moment, I'm getting to the page of test review. From here, my colleagues would be able to merge the changes. They would also be able to review all of the changes that this case has gone through. So the entire change log is found here. Mm-hmm. And yeah, after that, after the test case is merged into the repository, it will be available to be used in the test runs, recorded results and everything else.
So can I see also like the result of my previous runs, like for the previous releases?
Absolutely. What you can do, actually, you can take a look at it on different levels. For example, for a test case, if you want to focus on results related to just a specific test case, you can click the ID of that case over here. And on this next page you're taken to, you can track the entire test run history. So which test runs it was performed in and what were the results recorded for it, as well as there is a full change log. There is a full defects history of this test case. So the defects that have been created as a result of failing this case. If you want to just look at the history of the test runs altogether, in the test run section, you can apply the filter to look up the completed test runs only, the ones you have marked completed or where you submitted all the results for all the cases. And then you can go into each of them, take a look at them, see what's been going on there and what were the results.
Yep. And the status section is also very simple and straightforward, meaningful, color representations, very nice.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, the filters which I have applied here, they're actually available in a lot of different places around UI, which I'm pretty sure you have noticed. Not only the test run section, but also if you go back to repository, you can also filter the cases by some of their properties without any problem.
That's cool. And all these things are already set up, right? If somebody is setting up a new project, they need to they do not need to spend so much of time and effort to, set up everything like defects, status, and things like that, right?
Actually, yeah, it's all predetermined pretty much. Those defects, you don't have to spend very much time. I mean, there are, of course, some variable settings and variable entities you will be setting up based on your own preferences or how your team operates. Speaking of those can be, the environments for your test runs or the configurations for your test runs. That will be largely dependent on how you operate, as well as custom fields that you want to capture about the different entities. Those are configured for the entire workspace, where you simply build the custom fields you need. But other than that, all the entities themselves are already existing. You don't need to take any extra effort to actually set them up or enable them in one way or another.
Got it.
Really, our product is very flexible that way because it's scalable for both small teams and large teams. Whenever the team grows, you can add on those projects as much as you can. So if you are picking up more and more and more projects, first of all, whenever you're finished with some of the projects, you can also archive them so that they do not obstruct the view. Just like the setting up project as archived, you can later still refer back to it if you want to, again with the filters. But what we are also working at the moment is the workspace, the workflows option, where you can basically take the settings of an existing project as is and apply them to your new project, including not only the custom fields which are now available on the multiple project basis, but all the other settings like environments and configurations that you don't have to reset them up for every single project. And speaking of copying something, which could be a case, right? If you want to take a lot of different test cases you want to reuse, there are actually a couple of ways to do that. You can actually export them into, let's say, a CSV file, grab that CSV file, then import it back into your new project with the case.io as an option, as an origin or a source type. Another way you can approach this is by creating a clone of an existing suite.
Got it.
Whenever you clone a suite, you actually have to select a project, and it can be a different project where you're cloning it.
Yeah.
So it can be like that. I can actually put it into a different project to make it subsuite. Sorry, to put it into a different suite to make it subsuite. But essentially, yeah, you can do it like that. You can clone it with underlying suites or not.
That will save a lot of time and effort also. A lot of already configured items, artifacts can be cloned to your new project, so that will bring additional savings. Very nice, very nice. All right, so Ilya, thank you so much. Do you have anything else to cover as part of it, or for demo? I think we are good with the overview. If we have any additional questions, definitely we'll encourage people to reach out to your team and take that forward. So before we wrap up this discussion, would you like to tell us a little bit about your how this is offered? Like, do you have any trial license today if somebody wants to evaluate? And is there anyone to help in case somebody is evaluating and having some questions? Is there someone readily available who can help and take it from there?
Sure, yeah. So the way that you can purchase a case subscription is, first of all, we have a free plan available. It is available and for an unlimited time as long as you're using it. It comes with a few different limitations. You can check them out at the pricing page, of course. But again, it's perfectly suitable for pet projects, for studying, or for really small teams. As for the paid plans, those come in two forms, startup and business, each of which are different in the set of features that are available. And also startup comes with a few limitations, like up to 50 users in a team. And there is also a 90 days data retention policy here, which refers to test run results, defects, and test runs. But speaking of the trial, absolutely, you can sign up for a free trial of any of those paid plans. It is available for a month. So from the date you sign up, you can use it unlimited for a month and then make an informed decision whether you want to keep on using a paid plan or a free plan is going to be quite enough for you. As for help and assistance you might want or need during your trial, we have a live chat where you can reach out and ask us any information. It says, hi, yeah, because that's going to be probably me or Nikita answering there. So don't hesitate to use that. And of course, apart from that, we have quite a few different help resources. If you go to the help section over here, there is a help center. Each of the articles is usually armed with the video if you prefer to take a look at the video rather than reading text. So if you just want to learn more about how the test cases work, you open the related page, you can play the video right away and read on to get more details, more information about it.
That's really nice, Ilya. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate Nikita and Ilya taking time and joining us, giving such a wonderful demo on your platform. I'm sure this would be very, very much informative for everyone in the forum.
Thank you very much.
And I appreciate again, and thanks for joining us today. You have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you so
for
much.
having us.